Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Matt and welcome to my Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire Expanded Universe, currently known as Legends, in chronological order, as best I know how. I didn't change, I still got my tie. Alright, so let's talk about Book 2 in the Thrawn trilogy. It is called The Approaching Storm. Now in this one there's a few things that happen. Some highlights would be that Luke encounters Jor Sabath. Jor says, hey, I want to make you my apprentice. Luke's like, okay, you seem a little crazy. Meanwhile, Garm Bel Abyss enters the picture. And by the way, Garm Bel Abyss is a fantastic character that isn't really explored much after these books. But he was one of the founders of the rebellion with Mon Mothma. But a long time ago, they split. They had their differences and they split different ways. And he has his own battalion or armada, and he fights the Empire on his own. And to be honest, it would be best if those resources were folded back into what is now the New Republic. But for right now, no. Mon Mothma and him are still at a crossing, and they can't come to an agreement. But the Republic dearly needs his help when defeating Thrawn, because they're realizing, wow, this guy, this Grand Admiral Thrawn, he is way more dangerous than we gave him credit for. He's not just one of these warlords that they've been dealing with previously. Meanwhile, we shift to Leia's story. Leia goes to the Noghri home planet, where it is a dying planet, and she goes and looks at the soil and then shows them that the Empire has been poisoning their soil the whole time. It's been a big deception on the Noghri, and the Noghri are outraged by this. And so they are done with the Empire. They now serve the New Republic. You're like, yes, finally, a win for the New Republic, because this is not going to be the New Republic's day. The Approaching Storm is not good. For instance, there is a lost Katana fleet. It's 200 dreadnoughts, and it's lost some out there in space. And it's a big race between the New Republic and Thrawn to get a hold of those dreadnoughts. They both fight it almost at the same time, but Thrawn basically makes out like a bandit and gets most, if not all of them. Remember, resources are tough on both sides. I've already explained why the Empire, the New Republic, they're short on cash. They don't own a lot of the shipbuilding sites. They either still serve the Empire or various warlords, or a lot of them are now independent contractors and they're just trying to make money for the highest bidder. So the New Republic doesn't have that much cash, so getting some free ships would be great. So everyone's trying to get this fleet. Unfortunately, Thrawn gets it first, which gives him an upper hand, and now you're really worried because now he has even more resources to have his plan unfold. Now, two things I want to mention about this book. The first one is that Mara Jade mentions to Luke, because Mara and Luke have an adventure. They escape, go to a jungle planet, have to, have each other's back. This is where they slowly become friends, even though she still doesn't like him, because she thinks that he killed the Emperor. And see, the Emperor gave a last command to kill Luke Skywalker. And so she thought, oh, Luke Skywalker killed the Emperor, which is something that a lot of people thought back in the day. We're going to find out later on in other books. But Mara Jade thinks that that's why. Later on, she realizes, oh, it was Darth Vader who killed the Emperor, but the Emperor knew that Mara Jade was no match for Vader, so he said, well, you could probably take out Luke, and that would give Darth Vader a lot of pain, so I'll make that your lasting command. So it's almost like embedded into her personality. I mean, just like someone being like the Manchurian Candidate, they've been programmed that she just wants to kill Luke Skywalker, but now she knows what she perceived as the truth isn't the truth anymore. One of the things she reveals to Luke is that after the loss at the Battle of Yavin, the Death Star, the Emperor cut off Vader's hand. Now, why is that in there? People have questioned if that's a contradiction, because Vader's hand, as we know, Anakin's hand got cut off during Attack of the Clones. All right. Well, the reason Timothy Zahn said that is obviously in Return of the Jedi, when Vader's hand is chopped off, we see it's a robotic hand. We're like, what happened? It's not a real hand. So Timothy Zahn thought he'd be witty and try to put a reason for why that was an electric hand. Well, or a mechanical hand. Electric hand, what is that? Well, anyway, it turns out that, it was Count Dooku who severed his arm a long time ago before he even became Darth Vader. So is that a contradiction? No. If you recall, this isn't the first time Vader's lost his hand. He lost his hand and splintered the mind's eye too. So it makes sense that the Emperor, and she doesn't say it was a real hand, just chopped his hand off. Another contradiction I hear a lot of is the date of the Clone Wars. In the Bantam era, the day of the Clone Wars, it happened 35 years before the Battle of Yavin, I believe. And we find out, no, it was actually 20 years. Well, why did Bantam add 15 more years to it? And it really does cause a problem here and there within the continuity. Well, the thing was, that wasn't their fault. That was George Lucas's fault. George Lucas told Timothy Zahn that the Clone Wars happened roughly 35 years ago. Only later, when developing the prequels, would George Lucas change his mind, and therefore causing this little rift. Basically, the timeline is off a little bit, something that's easily corrected in when Del Rey's books came out. But still, it's evident in Bantam's novels, when mentioned, that the Clone Wars are mentioned to be way longer ago than people remembered. And that continuity error is on George Lucas. That's been well stated, because Timothy Zahn said, hey, that's when I asked George when the Clone Wars took place. He told me that, so that's what I put in there, and that's what we went with. So is it really a contradiction if George Lucas, the man, was the one responsible for it? I don't know. Anyway, folks, that is all the time I have for now, but come back and we'll review the third and final book in the Timothy Zahn series. See you then.